All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Here's Why You're Wrong. I'm Mick. We've got Jim over here. Yeah. We've got Mike in the booth. Say hey, Mike.
Hello.
And we have a new...
We've also got John in the booth today, so I want to thank John for coming in and helping us out.
Nice to meet you, John.
Special day today, our first live show.
First live show?
Right? This is exciting. That means it's exactly 8 o'clock right now. And if you're watching this at home right now, it's 8 o'clock where you are too, assuming that it's July 18th. It's kind of exciting. We've been doing some pre-recorded shows, but we really want to get discussion going, want to have people calling in. It's not as fun when you're pre-recorded. You want to get in there, mix it up a little bit.
We want people to call in.
Yeah, so please give us a call, 503-207-7135. You can check us out online at www.wrongtvshow.com. And we talk about all kinds of different topics, ranging from political to philosophical to just everyday discussions. Today we're going to be talking about the subject of war, which includes drone strikes, defense budgets, just I think the very philosophical subject of war in general. When, is it ever right to kill another human being? Those types of things. We're going to start off with some current events also and talk about what's going on lately. Jim and I just got back from separate vacations, though. I went to Italy with my wife, which was wonderful. And have you been to Italy? Remind me. Okay, you have. So Jim's been there.
I'm curious as to whether the headlines were the same out there as they are here. Like, was the Zimmerman story on?
No. Well, we got back right before the Zimmerman verdict, so I can't speak to that. But I had no concept of news while I was out there. Really interesting going overseas, and I'm sure you've experienced this more than you've been overseas more than I have. But it's always fascinating to see how other people live when you've had your little bubble for so long, the American bubble. We have so much space here. We're so spread out in everything. And you go to Europe, and nobody has a bathtub because it takes too much space. Hotels didn't even have shared, they had shared bathrooms. You didn't have your own bathroom until recently. Now
you were in a pension, or no?
No,
you were in
we stayed in pretty nice hotels, and we had our own bathrooms and everything. But
no bathtub.
No bathtub anywhere we went.
Did they have a hot tub and a swimming pool?
A couple of them had swimming pools, but I mean everything. The streets are tiny. These old cobblestone streets because they've been there for hundreds of years, and and my wife, said because it's very packed. There's people everywhere. Scooters are zooming around. Little cars are zooming everywhere. Yeah, and it's a whole different lifestyle. And my wife said, "Geez, it feels like there's a lot more people here than in the U.S."
You flew into Rome?
Flew into Rome, yeah. And I said, "No, we've got 5 times as many people in the U.S. We're so spread out. And there you've got a fifth of our population, but they're all crammed in, and it's just a whole different lifestyle. Someone's on strike there every other week. It's a garbage men are on strike this week.
Did they talk about the Costa Concordia, the ship?
The ship. No.
Okay.
There was no discussion of that, although I've seen that in the news this week. But it was interesting. It was a really good experience to see how other people live in different parts of the world. So many things there you see that are in different. Did you read about in the books? Colosseum, and then you're standing in front of it.
Right. That is something, isn't it?
The Leaning Tower of Pisa. You walk in. You look at it and you're like, holy crap, this thing leans. I mean, it's one thing to see it in a book, and I mean, it's just...
Did you do any of the tourist things like put your...
Yes, everybody has to go do the picture.
If you're drunk looking at the Leaning Tower, does it look like
does
it's
it look
more
straight?
leaning?
No, it looks straight when you're drunk, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
What's that bridge across the river in Florence?
Oh, I don't know.
Where the
across the river? Oh, yes, the huge bridge.
The huge bridge where they have all the vendors and
I
what do they call it?
It's called. I can't remember what that's called, but we did check it out. We were in Florence. we saw Michelangelo's David.
Mm-hmm.
These things that, again, you read as a little kid in these history books, and then to see it in front of you is a supernatural sort of experience where it's like, wow, this, I mean, some things we went to Pompeii,
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's quite a ways from Florence.
Yeah, we drove down, well, we started in Rome, we drove down to there, but I mean, a city buried by a volcanic ash 2,000 years ago.
And you look up to the north, and there's that mountain.
There's the
right
mountain,
there.
and
Yeah.
you can see paintings on the wall that are 2,000 years old. The colors
Yeah.
are vibrant and just frozen in time. It's very surreal. So we had a beautiful time. Glad to be back and start off with our live shows. I was excited to come back and do this. And you were in California.
Yeah.
So how
San
was
Diego.
family down there? I don't remember.
Yeah, Trina's family's down there.
Okay. That's right.
So yeah, we stayed in. We rented a house that had a swimming pool.
Very nice.
And,
you have to in California.
We're 9 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And the airport is right there, close into San Diego. So you just kind of drop in, and there's the city right there.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out to Coronado Island. It's not really an island, and went surfing. The water was cool, but not like here where you
You need a wetsuit here, a dry
yeah,
suit.
you need a wetsuit there. I was in the water for an hour
Yeah.
playing and really didn't get cold.
Nice.
And yeah,
You got all
it's a
tan?
beautiful city. Yeah.
You got a nice color.
The temperature in San Diego is just kind of year round, like 68 to 75, right next to
Wow.
the ocean there.
Wow.
It just shows you that the water temperature of the ocean influences the air temperature so much. Like here, it's 48 to 50. You go down to the coast, and a lot of the time it's
Right.
48 to 50 degrees.
Yeah,
The air
interesting.
temperature. So
Yeah, we had a good
the
time
military,
overall?
yeah, the military's big down there.
Oh yeah, big bases.
We went on the Midway aircraft carrier and walked around,
Very
and
cool.
the Navy has extensive installations, and then Camp Pendleton's there. If we're going to talk about war later,
We are? That will figure
the
in nicely.
economy down there is, I'm sure, dependent
Mm-hmm.
to a large extent on the military.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm sure.
From San Diego, I mean, you can look out where we were at Point Loma. You can look when it's clear and see Mexico, the hills of Tijuana right there. Mike, you grew up in California, didn't you?
I grew up in Tijuana. I gave out gum to the
Chiclets?
tourists. Yeah,
Chiclets?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
chiclets. That's how I made a living from 3 to 7.
And you learned
So you haven't come
English
very far
there
then.
very
I
well.
have not evolved at all. No.
Okay. All right, nice.
Actually, that essay got me into college.
Nice.
I wanted to go to Mexico. We were there. I wanted to go, I don't know, I wouldn't drive a rented car down there, but I would take public transportation, but we didn't bring our passports, and no one wanted to go. So
Too many heads in duffel bags.
I
for,
guess.
For me,
Yeah.
I'll pass at the moment, at least. I'm sure everybody says, oh, that's way overblown, but I don't know. I'm not taking my chances.
Yeah, I heard it's a lot worse than when I went there.
Yeah, it's not a good place to be right now. They're having their own war.
Costco, the booze at Costco was definitely about half price than it is here.
It was it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
So
Reason enough to go down.
Yeah, we got an import-export business. We're starting it up.
There you go.
there
well,
you go. Well, I don't think the state would like that too much, but yeah.
No, I'm just
They
kidding.
frown on that kind of thing. Let's talk current events.
All right.
So while we were gone, or I guess just
I want
as
to
we
hear
were getting
more
back,
about Italy. So what? So
We'll talk. You and I can talk about Italy.
all
later.
right.
No, but I want to know, is David tiny? Like,
No,
is
he's
he-
20
No,
feet tall,
it's
right?
way bigger than you
20
think.
feet tall.
Massive.
Yes.
Wow.
And you walk in, and there's 3 statues with the organs hanging out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 male statues or whatever. I mean, I just read this book by Dan Brown, the Da Vinci Code, the new book that he had,
Mm-hmm.
and you should read that because he talks about all the art in the city of Florence
Mm-hmm.
and Istanbul as well, but he describes all this art and talks about David, and so this guy must
Yeah.
have been there a lot, but the art just must be incredible.
I thought it was life size. I thought it was going to be just man sized, but it is, yeah, probably 15, 20 feet tall. It's huge.
Very manly.
And so, in some ways not very manly. But, I mean, there's lots of theories as to why he was created that way and about, man's uncomfortableness with his own.
How was the food?
The food was delicious.
Yeah.
I will say this: I don't care how delicious the food is. If you have pasta 3 times a day for a week, you're done.
You're done.
I wanted Mexican food like you cannot
Oh.
believe. I've never gone that long without Mexican food. I mean, for me, it's like every other day is Mexican food. 5, 6 times a week for me. I love Mexican food. And I realized after a week there, oh my God, I need a burrito and I need it now. And they don't have Mexican food.
So they have no. So what food do they have besides like fast food and Italian food?
They don't even have really fast food. There's a couple McDonald's, a couple Burger Kings. The only other ethnic food is Asian. And they have a couple of Asian food places, but I don't trust Asian food in Italy. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Did most of the people speak English you were around?
Yes, well, almost everybody speaks English over there, so it's
Yeah.
easy to keep track of things. But so now we're going to hit current events. I want to remind people, give us a call, 503-207-7135.
It's
give
kind
us a
of
call.
boring just us sitting here talking, so please call in.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk for hours and hours. That's kind
Well,
of what
yeah,
we're good
you're
at.
a
but-
talker. I need to take the art of conversation. You've mastered that.
Well,
Sing a little bit for
I've
us
mastered
too.
the art of yammering. I don't know if I call that conversation. I
Hold
want
my
to talk
finger
about
now.
Zimmerman because I want to hear your take on this, and I want to
Okay.
hear people's feelings on this. So, for those of you who have been under a rock or don't know, was found not guilty, and lots of mixed feelings on this. You tell me what you think first.
We got a call from Richard. Maybe he'll be able to chime
Oh,
in.
great.
On this.
Oh,
Richard?
let's see what Richard's calling about. Let's see if we can pot him through here. Richard, you there? Yep. Oh, I can barely hear you. Hang on a sec while we.
Okay.
You there now?
Yep.
All right. What's going on?
What's up?
Hey, Richard.
How you guys doing this evening?
We're good. How are you?
Doing really good.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Enjoying the weather, yeah.
Are you watching us live on TV or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very nice. Well, what do you want to talk about? Oh, I think we might have lost him. Richard? No.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
We lost him.
Darn it.
I bet that
We'll
was
try to
going to
get
be
him back.
exciting.
Okay, well,
too.
it's
We'll try
it's
to
our
get back.
first live show. It's
We got some kinks to work out. We'll try to get
Right.
Richard back on the line. In the meantime, talk to me about George Zimmerman. What do you think about this whole
George
thing?
Zimmerman. So the kids walking through a neighborhood
The
with
kid
a
being
hoodie,
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin,
Mm-hmm.
unarmed,
Black,
but with
male.
black, walking
juvenile.
while black. Yeah. So racism is despite the fact that there is an African American president, racism is still, it's still here. It's still part of the deal. The Supreme Court, what do they call it? Abolished the Voting Rights Act that came about because of the Jim Crow laws in the South and the states that consistently prevented minorities from voting, mostly African Americans.
Well, so
So
you
that-
believe that this was racially motivated, it sounds like, right off the bat.
Well,
George Zimmerman
I think George
shot him
Zimmerman
'cause he was black.
himself, well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear the trial. I didn't hear the evidence. I think that,
Well, it was raining. And then he said something about like something about these punks. He didn't refer to him as being black.
Right.
So it wasn't clear that he was racist.
right.
But because maybe he just thought he was some young punk because and it was dark. It was like 7:30.
He thought that he looked shady,
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
could be because he was black, or it
Yeah.
could be because he was
Maybe
wearing
he
a hoodie,
brown.
or
Maybe he thought he was brown. Maybe,
who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Only
Anyways,
George Zimmerman knows.
what do you think should have happened here? In terms of a
I
verdict?
don't know. I mean, I just know what the little bit that I watched on the news. I really wasn't there. I don't know. I wasn't part of the jury. I think that, for instance, in the city of Portland, there have been numerous police shootings of a lot of minority people. I think they get profiled. I don't know. I think it comes down to poverty more than anything.
It's a socioeconomic thing rather than a race thing, and I think people often get that confused.
Well, I mean, I lived in the South. I lived in Montgomery, Alabama for a couple years, and yeah, but there racism is very open. It's if you're racist, and
Right.
it's open. Up here it's more concealed, but you know, we all have to confront our racist attitudes. We all have that. I mean, just being born white in America, you're on second base. I mean, to some extent, and minorities have a lot to deal with that I don't even ever have to consider.
So
But you can never be a rapper, Jim.
No, no, I couldn't be a rapper.
Jim can lay down some beats. You might be surprised, Mike. So let's say Trayvon Martin is white. Does this become a news story at all?
Well, see, I don't know. They got in a struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Trayvon Martin starts being shadowed by this guy and starts getting scared, and the guy starts yelling at him or whatever and comes up to him, he has to come up to him. I don't know. Maybe Trayvon Martin gets mad or fearful about his own life and starts fighting with the guy. And the guy, again, guns. He has a gun. If he would have had a nightstick or a club, I mean, he could have hit him,
Exactly.
but he wouldn't be dead. But the
Exactly
guns
right.
again, Then you have the stand your ground law that, contributes to that. I guess that's happened a lot. I mean, several times around states where they have stand your ground laws where people have been shot vigilante style and there's no repercussions from that to the shooter. What's your feeling?
Well, Mike, you want to chime in with something there? What do you got?
The facts. The reason why he was exonerated was because he was on his back. So it looks like, I didn't watch the whole case, but it looks like Trayvon was upset at Zimmerman, so Zimmerman went back to get into his car, and Trayvon followed him and beat him
Oh,
up.
he did?
I don't.
Or had
Oh,
something.
I didn't follow it that closely.
I don't think that's
so
the case.
To make
So
a
you
judgment
think
on
they
that.
were just arguing in the street in the dark?
I think he came up to Trayvon and confronted him about something, and they fought just right there.
Well,
Let
See,
John
we
chime in.
don't
John
really
feels
know.
something different. I don't. Is this based on something, John, that you've seen?
Yeah, I followed the case fairly closely.
Oh.
Professional interest, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
If you will. And the problem, first of all, they'd had 5 burglaries in the area. This was a gated community. It's not just out where anybody walks through.
Okay.
So this guy, he's a neighborhood watch. Okay, he's a wannabe cop. But he's learned over a period of time, because he didn't make captain in this day one. So he's been doing it for a little while. So he sees someone he doesn't recognize, and they're walking. Now, the fact that the guy went to the store, Zimmerman didn't know that. He just sees the guys walking along through there, doesn't recognize him, wearing a hoodie, and it's not that the hoodie itself, but the fact that it's covering up his features, which, if you were going to commit a crime, you'd want to do. We've seen that on a number of videotapes around here, surveillance videos at various stores that have gotten robbed.
Sure.
It's very common that people try to disguise themselves. So he sees this, so he gets a little suspicious. So he starts following. Dispatch says, well, you don't need to do that. But anyone who's ever been a victim of a crime can tell you, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away.
Right.
And so he's realizing, the cops aren't going to get there real quick. It's a gated community. It's going to take a while. So he continues to follow. Trayvon spots this, realizes he's being followed, and becomes upset at it. Now, Trayvon knows he's not up to anything, but Zimmerman doesn't. So Trayvon gets angry and turns on Zimmerman.
While he's in the car,
No, while
he's,
they're out.
he's following him on foot.
Right. Turns on him and wants to confront him. Probably, I don't know the dialogue exactly because we only have one side of it, but something to the effect of, what are you following me for?
Right.
They get into an argument, and it proceeds to become physical. At which point, Trayvon winds up getting Zimmerman on the ground and is on top of Zimmerman.
Right.
And autopsy, everything else indicates.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were standing up and he just draws down and shoots him.
No. He was on his back. I don't disagree with that at all.
Right.
And I think he feared for his life. I think Zimmerman did. Absolutely.
Now, you're right. If Trayvon, I think, was wearing slacks, a sport coat, dress shirt, and a tie, this probably never would have occurred. Because again, he wouldn't have looked suspicious, particularly to Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
But because he did, Zimmerman followed, and everything else ensued.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay, so very good insight, John. Thank you. I'm glad we had someone here who was following the case
one
closely.
thing that I did hear about the gated community is there were gates on the sides of the streets, but the ends of the streets were open. It was not gated. You did not have to walk through a gate to get into this community. It was a public thoroughfare that they were walking down.
Right, and my only point is it's normally not an open community. This is one where, you know, you've got a homeowners association, that kind of a thing.
Not a
So
lot
a
of
little
traffic.
nicer neighborhood like the.
What, more restrictive maybe, that
Right.
that the people there, that they generally know each other more than you might find. It's not someplace that you get a lot of people there, live there for a short period of time and move.
Right.
It's more of a fixed community.
Right.
Now Trayvon was visiting, which would probably again threw Zimmerman off. He hadn't seen him because he was visiting. I believe it was his father that he was visiting there. Again, somebody wasn't known to Zimmerman.
Right. Let me tell you how this should have gone.
He should have been more respectful. I feel
Who
like
should have been more respectful?
Zimmerman. He should have approached Trayvon in a more respectful manner.
Well, we don't know how he approached
No,
him.
he was probably a jerk. You heard the phone call. We all heard the
Well,
phone call.
okay. Okay. Calm down in there, Mike. Calm down.
All right.
Okay. Everybody's got a lot of good points here. Here's the thing. Zimmerman,
Here's why you're wrong.
here's why you're wrong.
Okay.
Here's why you're wrong, both of you. Here's the deal. I agree. So, super lefties, the ACLU, NAACP, all these folks are going to cry foul and say this is clear racism. They're letting this guy go because he's white. This kid was black. This is crap, and we're going to have riots in the street. And that was my big concern. I'm glad there's been a couple of little
too
incidents,
much,
but
yeah.
no Rodney King or anything like that. And those people are full of crap. Okay, that's ridiculous. I'm going to say white people who are celebrating Zimmerman's verdict, because I don't know who else would really celebrate that, and it makes me suspicious when people do celebrate something like that who don't know him. They're all wrong too. This is a case where he got overzealous. Zimmerman did. He's following this guy. He had reason to suspect him. I'll give him that. Fine. He doesn't belong here. He's neighborhood watch. I suspect him. I don't question his reasoning. Trayvon had reason to be concerned that there's this crazy white dude following me. Okay? That both sides make sense there. George Zimmerman was talking to the police. They said do not follow him. He made a decision to follow him anyways. Okay? So there's mistake number one, which put this whole thing into effect.
But he didn't get prosecuted. He didn't get convicted because it wasn't a cop. Because he didn't disobey a police officer. It was the dispatcher.
That's fine. That's fine. He starts following him. Whatever he says to him makes Trayvon upset. Trayvon attacks him, or they get into a tussle for whatever reason. There's Trayvon's mistake, and I can believe that he overreacted and was probably disrespectful back to Zimmerman because he was irritated and he felt like he was walking while black, like you said. Like, what's this? You're going to follow me just because I'm black? And then he overreacts, goes on him. It turns into a scuffle. They shoot each other. Well, he shoots Trayvon. So now we have a dead guy, and we have George Zimmerman. Not murder.
The police, they didn't arrest him?
They did not arrest him because it looked like self-defense. He's all scuffed up, and he said this guy was on top of me, and I shot him. And ballistics and recreation seem to support that theory. He was on top of him. Fine. The thing that I don't get, it's
the
not...
police botched the investigation, too. The
Oh,
DNA evidence.
they always botch the investigation. It is not murder, and he should not have been convicted of murder. I don't think I can even say that it was racial. The guy screwed up.
It was reckless disregard for life. That's
Yes,
manslaughter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would think at a minimum, I mean, listen, you hit somebody with your car accidentally, you get manslaughter. I mean, like, that happens all the time where manslaughter is you screwed up and somebody's dead. Okay?
This, again, is a gun, a handgun. What
I know.
does the guy need a handgun for?
I totally agree. He
You
should
know-
have had mace or, like, you don't need a gun.
I don't know, a sword or something, a
Well,
club.
he wanted, I think this is the kind of guy who likes to be in control, and that's why he wanted to be neighborhood watch and probably wanted to be a cop, and he, you feel official when you got something strapped to your hip. I'm surprised that he got away with nothing. Okay,
Well, it's not over yet. There's a civil trial coming.
and that's
probably.
bull crap. Let me touch on that for a minute. This whole you're innocent of killing somebody, but then we're going to sue you again like OJ. No, you either killed somebody and you go to jail, or you didn't. You don't get to be not guilty and then sued for $24 billion and then you
Well,
owe
the
everything to
burden
the
of
Goldman
proof
family.
is not as high for a civil.
That's baloney. That is a cheap way around the double jeopardy thing. Either you've got him for murder, in which case
Well,
they should go to
maybe he'll
jail or
be-
die, or you
maybe-
don't.
Maybe nothing more will come of it. I don't.
We'll see. We will
I
see.
have friends that think he's gonna die in 2 weeks. I'm like, I made him a bet.
You mean
Because
he's
he'll-
gonna,
vigilantes will take
if
him
he
down.
keeps gaining weight, he might. I don't know. Heart attack
Diabetes
or-
is a real concern. Yeah.
Oh, it's
All right.
it's a sad thing.
It's
you
a
know?
sad thing, I think, but neither side is exactly right. We should meet somewhere in the middle again, as usual. But the press really blew things out of proportion on this one and really made it awfully one-sided. And they did do that stupid thing with the young photos of Trayvon and the old photos of Zimmerman. Just like when they made OJ more black on the cover of Time magazine. Do you remember that back then? Oh, when the
This
whole
was
thing.
like O.J. Simpson, yeah.
Yeah, they darkened his picture to make him look more black. And it's like, come on, we don't need, let the case stand on its own merits and let's make up our mind. And they just gave so much ammunition to the right to say, that this is overblown.
Is
and
this
it's
like
crap.
a microcosm of like a general war, like maybe one nation feeling threatened by another group or nation and
Probably-
generalized war over that?
Well, maybe North Korea, South Korea. I mean, I can see those two, tussling. But let's move on to war. Let's talk about war. We talked about current events. Now we can move on to war. Again, give us a call 503-207-7135.
Come on, call the show.
Check us
Be
out
brave.
online, wrongtvshow.com. So war is a big subject.
I can't believe nobody called about Trayvon.
Nobody cares. We're all just heartless. Let's talk about war now.
War is raw.
It is
I
backwards.
always
Yes.
backwards, and then love backwards, evolve. Think of that.
Wait, what?
The word love backwards is the first 4 letters of evolve.
Yeah, the first 4 letters. That's
Right.
Well, you can't do that.
That's kind of cool.
No, it has to be the actual word.
All right.
The first
Jim, I think you're the only one in the whole world that thinks that's cool.
the first 4 letters were evolved. Oh,
So
no,
here's why you're wrong, Jim.
no, here's why you're wrong, Jim. I'll tell you what somebody here at the TV station said once, and I can't remember who it was. Listen, all the letters in listen. Do you remember this, Mike?
Yeah.
The letters in the word listen are the same letters as the words silent. Mind
Oh,
blown.
interesting.
Okay, now
That's
that
cool.
one works.
That's
okay,
cool.
see what I did there? The evolve, love backwards thing. That's no, I don't buy that. There are people out there who think war is wrong at every level. Period. You don't kill another human being. There's people who say, kill them all and let God sort them out. Okay. There's this huge spectrum. There's people in the middle.
There's a warrior tribe in humanity, a warrior class, a warrior tribe.
You mean like an instinctual desire to?
Yeah. There's
There's a lot
a
of
martial
us.
instinct in humanity.
I believe that, and there's a lot of us that is instinct and evolution, and is just so deep in our DNA. That is why, we're programmed to. Men use this excuse all the time when they're going to cheat on their wives. Is that, well, listen, it's in my DNA. I got to go out there and reproduce, and that's what I'm programmed to do. I didn't make this choice, but that's just the way it is, which is baloney. But part of that is it is built in there. We are hunters. We are summer gatherers.
Coyotes made for life. You know that.
That's charming. I believe that. I can believe that. But there's all these different views on war. What's
Well,
your?
here's what Lao Tzu said.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Is that how you say his name?
No,
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu. Yeah. Okay.
The art of
The art of
war
war.
is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. So the state is intimately involved in, it's a form of diplomacy,
War.
war.
Well, I think there are some states and countries that use it as that.
We do.
I think we probably do. You know, so and war has a whole different definition now than it used to. Now we've got
Right.
the
We
war
used to
on
be
terror.
the Department of War, and then they changed it to the Department of Defense. Right. Yeah.
So
we have
it's
200
interesting.
plus military bases around the world,
Right.
all part of the Department of Defense.
Sure. Sure.
Pax Americana.
Because everybody wants a piece of America.
That's
America.
right. America.
Now, you were around for the Cuban Missile Crisis and the
Yeah.
Cold War. What did you go through the whole? Well, how old? Well, I guess I shouldn't ask how old you are on live TV, but how old were you? Were you in school during
The Battle of the Somme.
Cuban Missile stuff?
Wasn't that World War One?
He was at least in college at that point. What? Were you in school during Cuban Missile stuff?
Yes.
What age group were you? Yeah. Well, did you
That
go
was
through
1962, right?
I don't know. It was before I was born.
Kennedy was killed in
63.
murdered in 1963, November, right?
Yep.
In
Yeah. So it must
Dallas,
have been 62.
Texas again, Texas.
So you were you in grade school around that?
I was in the 6th grade. I was 12 years
Okay,
old.
perfect.
yeah.
So did you guys do the get under your desks if there's going to be a...
No, I was in 62. I was 10 years old. Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys talk about...
Yeah, I remember that vaguely. Yeah.
Was there a feeling that...
It
Not as a
it never
10-year-old.
really bothered me, or I thought about it. I just remember Kennedy being, I mean, my 6th grade teacher crying, Mr. Ellis.
when he was killed?
Yeah, when he announced that to the class, we were in the 6th grade.
Wow.
Um,
Well, there was a long period there where it seemed like war was inevitable. You know, a huge nuclear war, really.
it seemed like it, didn't it?
It sure did. I mean, it... you know...
What
think-
you weren't even around.
I was not around. I've never lived through that. My first war experience was the Gulf War, which, I mean, is totally different. I mean, I don't want to say it's nothing compared to the other things that we've been through, but I mean, it really wasn't. It was no Vietnam and no Korea, that's for sure. There was a sense of disconnection, I think, probably fairly similar to what we've experienced now with the war on terror and Afghanistan and Iraq. There's not a sense of involvement. There's certainly no rationing, or you know,
Without
let's
the
all pull
draft,
together.
there's really
No.
really no cohesive.
You see it on TV and you read about it in the papers.
But not even like Vietnam. When Vietnam, they would have body counts every day. They would show dead bodies. They would show lined up Viet Cong on Walter Cronkite, you know, a row of dead Vietnamese. They would show dead Americans. They
Why
would,
don't you think they do that anymore?
Because it turned America against the war, and that's what ended the war.
So they should probably be doing that.
It's funny, we do so much race baiting to stoke like civil war here, but we don't show images when we're fighting other countries. That's ironic.
Who do you think's controlling that? I mean, that makes
well,
it
the
sound like a
military-
conspiracy.
The military, if they're having a war, they have control over who gets access. So they learned a good lesson in Vietnam that if you show the reality of war, people are generally not going to want to participate in that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's been a lot of argument lately that we are not seeing enough of the reality of war, and that's why it continues to go on for 10 years. And
Endless war, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a military that, it's like, I mean, if you have it, it seems like you're going to use it, right? I just think that America's an empire, and a benevolent empire in a lot of respects.
I would agree with that.
Like Rome, you know, you had the Peace of Rome, but the Peace of Rome was maintained by legions of soldiers around the edges of the Roman Empire and within it. And I think there's a lot
Fear.
of parallels here to that. We have over 200 military bases around the world.
Well, yeah, but they're not in America. I mean, we don't have, they're not on the streets maintaining peace and order here, which is, I think, a different
There, just like in the Roman Empire, they had legions in Germany, in Germania, in England, in Persia, in North Africa, in Spain, and those armies maintained the peace and promoted the commerce, as far as I understand.
Yeah, but I don't think
But
our
they
military
weren't in
behaves.
Italy. They had legions in Italy, but the armies maintained the empire. Our armies
Whoa,
are.
John's got a thought.
I don't know if you watched the news tonight, but they showed that the 82nd Airborne is preparing for potentially intervention in Syria. And the purpose would be to capture chemical weapons to see that they don't fall into the wrong hands. Do you think this is a role that the U.S. should look at doing, or is this an intervention we should just stay out of altogether? And if the Syrians lose their chemical weapons, so be it.
Well, that's a big question: is when are we supposed to get involved and when are we not? Because
It is a big question.
certainly people say we should not have been in Iraq. We should not.
That was a manufactured war. They wanted to have a war. Saddam Hussein basically said, "Whatever you want, I agree to," and
Well, I don't know that that's really true.
yeah, they basically said, okay, we don't have any weapons. You can come in and look if you want. They basically manufactured that war. That was totally manufactured.
Saddam Hussein was an evil, evil man who killed
Yeah.
thousands and thousands
Yeah.
of his own people, and I will not agree to the fact that we should not have gone in and removed him. I will agree that we should not have necessarily gone in the way we did, and we should have done it with more global support, and there's a proper method to doing things instead of us looking
They
like cowboys.
outright lied, Mick.
Well, yes, I agree
They
with
lied in order to gin up support for this.
that. I agree.
And if you opposed it, especially in the Congress, you were vilified. And, they got all these people to sign on to it. And they turned the country into a wasteland and killed 100,000 or more Iraqis, not to mention the thousands of American soldiers that were killed. And it still goes on to this day.
I agree. You're talking about the way in which it was handled and the way we entered it being improper, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. But you cannot then say that everything was fine over there and he opened up his gates and welcomed everyone in, because that's not accurate. They never gave people access to all the nuclear facilities that they were supposed to. They
I think
constantly
if
lied.
you look into it, Mick, you will find that when it became clear that the United States was going to invade Iraq, they basically said, come in and look. I mean, they didn't want to take yes for an answer because they wanted to have a war. That was George Bush's war, and his cabinet there, Rumsfeld and Cheney, the man with the new heart. And so, it was a manufactured war.
So what about something like Syria now,
Um,
where you've got a fairly large sort of revolutionary force fighting, on its surface, saying they're fighting for the people to overthrow this regime that
you
we know is
can't
corrupt.
talk about Syria without talking about Israel.
Okay. Talk about Israel now.
Well, Israel is our ally, I guess.
They're
you know-
supposed to be our ally. Let me remind everybody, give us a call, 503-207-7135, wrongtvshow.com. Here's my problem with Israel. I'm Jewish. I went to Hebrew school when I was little. I grew up with a lot of Israelis, and a lot of them are over in Israel right now. And this is on the subject of religion, too, which is a whole other show we're going to have. But when you have a conflict that's based on religion, like the Palestinians and the Israelis, that goes back thousands of years, I don't know that that's something you can fix. They want to kill Jews and kill Israelis, period. And I don't think you can talk them out of that because it's so ingrained in their belief system that that's just what they want to do. There is this possibility of a two-state sort of solution, but Israel keeps building things where they're not supposed to and skirting the line there, too, and saying, well, we're not going to take this settlement down. We're going to build a new settlement here. We're going to do this. And they're egging each other on constantly. And I am tired of us having to get involved over and over again. And, you know, this whole trouble in the Middle East thing, I'm freaking tired of it. If they can't get their crap together.
Is it because of oil? Is that the
No.
main issue?
For why we're involved?
Yeah, why are we? It's Israel and it's oil. We have to protect Israel.
I don't know, but
Because
there's no
obviously,
oil.
without the support of the United States, Israel would be annihilated. Don't you think?
I don't know about that. They have a pretty strong military. They're very good at defending themselves. They're
Yeah.
a nuclear
They
power.
have nuclear weapons.
I mean, they can sort of. I
But
mean, we
without-
helped them get there, certainly.
Okay.
But I don't know that they necessarily need our support for that. You know, I don't know. It's weird because Jews in general tend to be more liberal and left-leaning.
Yeah.
However, you've got the right now embracing Israel as their huge thing, and that we're not going to give up on Israel, and so you've got this sort of.
Then you've got the whole apocalypse, end times, Christian zealot thing going on over here, and
Right.
wow.
It's a mess.
So we have Tom on the phone.
Tom.
Tom is on the phone. All right, Tom, is he patched through now?
We're getting him back.
You're working on it.
Tom,
Okay.
did he? Oh, that was Richard before.
It was Richard before. Now we've
Come on,
got Tom.
call in. Where's
Well, we're
where's
working
Beck?
through-
Where's
looks like
Beck?
they-
He's right here. Here he is. Here's Tom.
There's Tom. All right. Can you hear us yet?
Okay, I'm on, I think.
Hey, Tom. Hey, yep, we hear you now.
Okay. Hey, just a couple of things I wanted to pose, just some observations. One thing about the Middle East, I think that looking back through history, I think it would really be a mistake, and this might be something that's driving our policy. I think it would be a big mistake to ignore what's going on in the Middle East, even regardless of oil or anything else. I mean, or even regardless of Israel. I mean, if war breaks out there with nuclear weapons, it's going to affect everybody. And
Well, but that goes well beyond the Middle East. I mean, if a nuclear war happens in North Korea, we got problems too.
So the
Correct.
United States then has some responsibility in the world just because who we are.
Of course, yes. And whether we like it or not, the world, we have a global economy where all
Yes.
the nations are intertwined. And, you know, I'm not saying hanging on to one particular country is good or bad, but we certainly can't ignore geopolitical developments just because, you know, we think it's, you know, we shouldn't be sticking our nose in people's business. I mean, a lot of people think that, well, we shouldn't be involved in this country, or if it's clear on the other side of the earth, we shouldn't be involved working with Pakistan or India or something like that. But we are a global economy.
Yep.
When those places start throwing nukes at each other and the economy in those countries starts dropping and starts affecting our economy, then people over here will start complaining, well, why didn't we get involved? Why, with our power, we have, as a superpower, we have a responsibility to help, or to mitigate some of these issues. On the other hand, I don't believe we should just be a police force, sending our young people to these countries just to be a police force. That's not what we do best.
Yeah,
Well,
where's the balance? Right,
Here's
exactly,
the problem.
you know?
Here's
yeah.
the problem. I don't think anybody thinks we should be uninvolved and let them do their own thing. The problem is, what do you do when you have a country like Israel, or you know, to some respect, India and Pakistan, where you are trying to intervene, you're trying to do something, and the two sides are just being so stupid. You know, and how many years can you just put up with that and say, now, kids, come on, let's come to the table and let's talk.
So it's like George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin.
Are you
Okay.
bringing it full circle?
What's the alternative, though? I have to ask, what's the alternative?
Well, that's the question I'm posing. I don't know the answer to that, but you cannot sit there. I think you have to lay down the law, and I don't know what that looks like, but you say, Israel, cut the crap. You are not building another settlement here where you're not supposed to. We're going to have a two-state solution. And Palestinians, stop strapping bombs to your chest and walking into a subway and blowing yourself up.
Well, the devil's in the details.
Well, I agree. I mean, they're trying to build a wall, and they've tried all kinds of different things. But the bigger question in that is that so much of this goes back to religion and these deep, deep beliefs that we are not going to convince people to stop hating a religion that they've hated for 2,000 years and feeling like they are Satan, and that they're destroying the earth. That's what they believe. So the question becomes, do we wipe them off the map then? I'm not suggesting that we do, but
some people would say yes.
If you take that to absurdity, you could say, well, what do we do with groups like the Taliban?
Yeah, if you Muslim extremists, Muslim extremists.
They want to their religion means to destroy us. I mean, that's the only thing that they can do, and they'll have to kill every single one of those guys, to stop them.
Right, and that is one of the huge problems with religion that we're gonna have.
I think you're talking about fanatics.
Yeah,
the most of the people over there love their families and their children, and
of course.
I'm
talking about the Taliban.
Extremists.
Okay, just like there are extremists here. I mean,
no.
You can't kill an idea.
Stop making that argument. It's a stupid argument, Jim.
There are extremists here.
Of course there are. Of course there are.
So in every culture and
No.
But he's saying we can't just go into these countries and go find the fanatics and kill them.
If we need to first accept the fact that there seem to be certain religions that are more violent than others, and I'm tired.
Wow, I'm shocked.
I am tired of people saying, "Oh, hey, listen, Timothy McVeigh was a Christian, and you never know." No. There are Muslim extremists who get out in the streets and say, behead the non-believers, and we're going to show you we're not violent.
The Christians did in the 1300s.
Okay, well, that's the 1300s, and this is now. If the Christians were doing it now, I'd say they're full of crap, and we should get rid of them too.
So we should just go out and kill Muslims.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Mike. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is religion does not get a free pass on this kind of stuff just because it's religion. And if you're a Christian, I don't care either. You're equally stupid in my book. You are basing your entire life around this ideology, and if you're going to let that help you kill people, that's crazy, and that's not something we can talk you out of.
Well, that wasn't the message of Christ at all.
No, of course not, and I'm sure it wasn't the message of Muhammad either. I mean, that's not the way it goes, and that's what people who follow Islam will say. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
No, the problem is I don't think there is a solution. I don't think there is a solution that will allow all these groups, as you're talking about, all the particular religions, political groups to coexist in perfect harmony. That's never going to happen. I think most people probably realize that that's not going to happen. I think it's an ideal that we would strive for, and along the way, there's going to be a lot of fallout. There's going to be wars. There's always going to be, there's always going to be beheadings. There's always going to be man's inhumanity to man occurring. I don't think we can ever get away from that. Maybe sometime 2,000 years from now, like in some Star Trek show, but that's, I think, just the nature of man.
I agree with that, but I think that education can go a long way to fixing a lot of these things. And like I say, religion gets a free pass on a lot of things. But if we started saying, listen, any religion that does not give women the right to ride a bicycle and stones them to death if they're caught learning to read, is not okay with us. And that's you don't get a pass because you're a religion. You can't do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, but how do you stop it, though? How do you stifle it?
Well, you have to give people freedom to make their own decisions in life, and we don't do that even in America. I mean, kids who grow up with their parents teaching them religion are going to grow up to be that religion, and occasionally they'll get old enough and say, "Wow, they were full of crap. This is crazy." But for the most part, all you know is what your parents teach you, and if you're brought up that way, that's all you know. But if we can find a way to free up these civilizations, that have lockdown, no internet, their internet's filtered, they have Sharia law and all these things going on. If we just show them reality on reality's terms, the world, what the world is like, and open up their mind, I think we'd have a lot more people choosing freedom instead of this closed-minded theology.
But do you think
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
even possible?
I agree. And
like
it's
in
going to be a
any
long time because when you
measure
look
of
at some of those
imagination?
territories up in Pakistan,
Yeah.
they're so remote that all it takes is a couple hundred people to be isolated, wanting to go back to the quote-unquote old ways, the old days, pure life, the Sharia law, and then you're off again, with the body bonds and the beheadings.
Yeah, but I think you can make a difference, and I think technology will help us do that. We'll see what's coming. Hey, Google is experimenting with internet balloons. Have you guys heard about this?
Yeah.
Maybe that's, you get this, you get things to the... We've been dropping propaganda on people for, years and years and years. This is nothing new, but, and I'm not suggesting we pump rock music into Afghanistan or something, but, just as technology evolves and the world becomes closer, I hope this will be less of a problem than it is today. Time will tell. Tom, I want to thank you for calling in. That was excellent. We appreciate you listening. Are you watching us on TV?
I certainly am. Hey, one more point I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Just about the Iraq War, the second Iraq War.
Yeah.
Something I've always wondered about was you recall that after the first Gulf War, George Bush Sr., the first George Bush, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was almost assassinated in Kuwait. Do you recall that?
I do not.
He was in Iraq. It was obviously way after the war, touring, and there was a bomb planted under a bridge there, which was found and defused, and he was going to be driving right over that bridge.
Oh, wow.
That would have took him out. It was an assassination attempt which failed. I think George W. Bush also thought of the second Gulf War as some payback, which certainly took care of business.
Well, there were, and thank you again, Tom, for calling in. There were, you're not the first person to say that for sure. That look what Junior goes in to mop up and finish what Dad started, and I don't know how accurate
Let's
that is.
just hope that we're through with the Bushes.
Jeb was thinking of making a run. We'll see what happens there. We didn't even get. We've got a few minutes left. I want to talk about drones for a minute here because I find this fascinating. It's been a big topic of discussion lately. Drones are, it's so immoral to have a drone go in and shoot a missile into a plaza and take somebody out. And so the question to me is, what if that was not a drone, but it was a manned, fighter jet, typical style? Does that make it any different? Who cares that it's a drone? The important part is that 20 people were killed by a missile. Why are we focusing so much on the drone and the fact that there was no one driving it? I'm all for drones. It's less that we have to go out there and give up. We can do it from the comfort of some military base in Colorado and drive the thing and fly the thing, and great, yay for us. If that kills civilians, that's terrible. But the fact that it's a drone should not play into things at all, other than the fact that it scares people. The word drone, robots are going to come out and kill us. They're going to turn on us and go rogue. War is war. A missile is a missile. People die. And the people need to be asking themselves the bigger question of, is it right to kill 10 civilians to get this one terrorist? Is it right to be in Afghanistan at all? Is it right to shoot a missile into Pakistan and try to get this guy to take him out? Those are questions that are separate from the drone, but they seem to get mixed in that, there's too many drone attacks. I guess maybe we're doing it more frequently because it's so easy. That is an argument that I could see. Like,
it makes it, sterile.
The push of a button, we can go in, and so we're doing it more. And the statistics do say that many more civilians were killed by drones than by manned vehicles. That does hold up. But I don't know why.
It's cheaper.
I'm sure it's cheaper. Is it that the guy sitting in the booth is detached more because he's,
Although
10,000
I've heard
miles
there's
away?
PTSD from those
Oh,
guys
I'm sure.
too. Yeah.
Well, they kill 20 children. There's been lots of accidents where, it goes off in a terrible way and kills 20, 30 children. And, I think that drones are just the first thing we're going to see in terms of new technology that's going to affect war and how it works. But anything that kills less people, I'm all for in my book. Preferably it wouldn't kill a bunch more civilians, but I'm not sure why that's happening, and I wish I had a good idea about it. You know, we've only got a couple of minutes left here, Jim. Defense budget.
Well, you know,
I was looking at the statistics, and
the
it seems like we're
whole
right back to World War II.
sequestration, the whole this impasse in Congress.
We're not living in the same world we were 50 years ago by any stretch of the imagination. We are not. We're using drones, as we just talked about. We have isolated terrorists blowing things up that we need to go in and root out. We're not invading mainland China.
What is there? 7 billion people on the planet.
Oof, I
They
don't know.
estimate
Could be.
that by 2050 there'll be 9 billion people.
Yeah, I can buy that.
And
buy that.
so as the population goes asymptotic, like that,
Is that a real word, or did you just make that up?
it's a math term that when a function goes like that,
Asymptotic?
yeah,
That's
an
definitely
asymptote.
a real word.
Okay, I'm going to take
Is
you guys'
that,
word
is
for
that how you say it, Mike?
I believe so.
Yeah. It just means that the function goes vertical, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
it. All right. So as population increases
So,
like that.
you know, lack of water, you know, global warming, there's all these other curves that are mirroring or following the population curve. So wars, I think our cure, we're going to be fighting over more and more, are going to be fighting over less and less. I think if we could solve the energy problem and the water problem, there's room. Look, drive over eastern Oregon sometime. There is mile after mile after mile of nothing.
There's plenty of room on this
If there was
planet.
plenty of water, and it's desert. If there was water, you could make that desert bloom, like the Israelis have made the desert bloom in the Middle East there. But so you have to be able to desalinate seawater, which takes a lot of energy. If we could solve the energy problem, we could desalinate. We'd solve the water problem, and there would be room, and there would be for these people. If we can't do that. I don't know.
We're screwed.
We might be. I
Yeah.
don't, you know.
We might be.
Unless
Being screwed is
Jesus
always a
comes back
possibility.
or until he comes back.
Save it for our religion show.
Okay.
Save that for the religion
Muhammad's
show.
coming back.
Okay.
That just about wraps up the show. So this was our first live show. I want to thank everybody for checking in. Our next show.
Let me just say, I'll just read this. I pulled it off the internet.
Go for it.
Just a paragraph about war. Whether fought over resources, land, or ideological differences, wars have shaped and reshaped the map of the planet, creating or destroying entire nations. Military history reaches as far back as human memory, with nearly every recorded civilization engaging in armed struggles, and some in a state of constant warfare, like the Comanches in Texas. Early civilizations were established and maintained primarily with military power. Egypt, Rome, Athens, Sparta, and the Persian Empire, for example, all rose and fell on the strength of their armies. Modern warfare is characterized by technological innovations, from machine guns to nuclear bombs, capable of inflicting damage on a large scale, and now we have the drones. Imagine a nuclear weapon attached to a drone.
Yeah, it could happen, but it's no scarier to me than a nuclear weapon attached to a fighter jet.
Or strapped on someone's chest.
The
or
nuclear
something,
weapon
yeah.
is the scary part, and I think we
Yeah.
should not lose focus of that.
Should we try to get rid of those?
Our
That'd be
n-
good, huh?
Well, that's a whole other show,
Okay.
probably. Our next show is going to be August 1st. We're going to be talking about healthcare then, Jim. We'll talk about, depression, mental health. Mental health is what I mean.
Mental health.
Yep. So we'll see.